Good Tuesday evening, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here. Welcome to Live Weather Impact tonight. It is now May the 12th. Great weather. We call this Chamber of Commerce weather for a reason because this is honestly the best kind of weather. Now, I know we're in a drought. I love to see some rainfall just as much as everybody, and actually I hate being in droughts, but this is why April normally is my favorite month because this is April weather, but we're getting it here in May. Typically low 70s, mid 70s, maybe no humidity and crisp, cool mornings, but we get more of it this week. So get out and enjoy it because it's going to change. Trust me, this might be the last week of real spring weather before we get into the summer heat and humidity. So tonight, clear and cool will be in the 40s. Wednesday, dry cold front, which I'll talk about in a minute and why it's mostly dry. And the weekend, it's all about the heat wave, which is going to crank up. And I think once the heat and humidity gets here, we are probably in it for the duration, which means the next time you open your windows consistently might be next fall or October, really. Maybe September if we get an early cold front. Today, 73 and 47. You can see how well below average that is for both the highs and the lows. The record's way up there, and obviously no rainfall today. It was warmer than yesterday. Many areas north never got out of the 50s or 60s, so it was a pretty dramatic warm-up for some of us today. Right now, room temperature outside. That's always a great feel when it can be just perfect outside or inside. It doesn't really matter. Windows wide open, got low humidity. Dew points are in the 30s. So tonight we should see temperatures plummet pretty quickly once the sun goes down because of that high wispy cirrus deck, those clouds that are up there right now making for a gorgeous sunset, they're going to be long gone. So tonight, up in the mountains, we'll see temperatures in the low 40s, crisp, cool air, maybe some upper 30s in those sheltered valleys. As we move down through the foothills, the Unifor region, which is the Hickory, Newton, Conover area, you see mid to upper 40s. As we move down to the Charlotte area, Metrolina, southern Piedmont, temperatures mainly in the upper 40s, but a few spots could be those typical cold spots like Concord. Even Rock Hill can be a little chillier than Charlotte. You see the 40s down in South Carolina and the Highway 74 corridor staying comfortable. But tomorrow, after that cool start, we call this a diurnal change in temperature. Huge warm up. Southwest winds, that's the blowtorch, warms us up into the upper 70s to low 80s. Some good news today. I always like to bring some good news. The drought has been bad, but we are past the pollen peak. So pollen season is winding down. The only reason it's not even better is the lack of rain has not washed the pollen that's come off the trees already. So it's still blowing around a little bit, but we are now past it. Now a medium day is kind of an elevated pollen day. Pine, oak, and cedar are still our three primary pine pollens out there, I should say. But all in all, we're past the worst of it. So if you can leave the windows open tonight, you'll get some fresh air. You don't have to worry so much about the pollen as normal. Tomorrow, dry cold front for most of us, but to our north, we will see some isolated strong storms. I think very few, to be honest with you. Incredibly isolated risk as this cold front comes in. I showed you those dew points. They were so dry, remember? 30s, maybe some 40s. This cold front's going to move into incredibly dry air, so there's no fuel for these storms to build off of or anything to produce rain. So we'll call it mostly a dry cold front. I don't know if you saw that real quickly. I'm going to back it up there, but real quickly, I don't know if you look up in West Virginia, that's a little bit of pink. Up there, Pocahontas County, might be a few snow flurries up at Snowshoe behind that air mass. And here's a look at that close up just to show you what I'm talking about. This won't amount to much. This is why I have a 20% in, is for that tomorrow night, because that's about it. Most of us are going to be bone dry. So if you think, hey, the rain went around my house, it went around everybody's house. I can tell you that nobody is going to see rain. There's very few people that'll see rain. And the dry air mostly sticking around, but there are signs that we're going to see the dew points creep up late next week. And that's important for two things. It's going to make it hot and humid, but that also could allow for some pop-up showers and thunderstorms to develop at some point next week, and I'll show you that coming up here in a second. Skeeter meter, going to make the debut today because I had to bring it out because we are going to be a week removed coming up from the heavy rain last week. Parts of our area did get 2 inches of rain over a 24-hour period, and so there might be some rapid breeding of mosquitoes in any standing water, but the drought for the most part keeps mosquitoes at bay. They need rain to breed, or at least standing water. And with the warm air heading our way, we probably will see the mosquitoes get a little more active, and we might see a better chance of pop-up storms late next week and next weekend, which, by the way, is Memorial Day weekend. Not this weekend, but next weekend. Temperatures this weekend, hot. Upper 80s, low 90s. this is the beginning. We're heading into that hot part of the year. It's usually mid-May. It's like clockwork. Here's a look at your Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. Get out and soak in the next 3 days, because these afternoon highs in the 70s, the morning lows in the 40s and 50s, that's delightful. Starting Saturday afternoon, we warm up into the upper 80s, and then Sunday, the lows are in the mid 60s, so not much of a cool down at night, and the afternoons get increasingly hot and sticky. Now, that's not great for comfort, but that's good news for rain chances, because starting Tuesday, I'm going to have to start throwing in a pop-up storm. And I think really Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we actually have a little higher chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms in the afternoons and evenings. Now, these aren't widespread. They're not drought busters, but it's at least pop-up storm season that is developing. And this is the week going into Memorial Day weekend. So once this humidity gets here, there's really not many cold fronts on the horizon, and this is when we start turning that corner. So leave your windows open this week, get some fresh air in the house, enjoy as much as you can right now, because I think once you get to the weekend, like all of us, we'll probably be flipping the AC on because it's hot and humid. When it doesn't cool down at night, that's when it becomes really active, and you might be leaving it on until we get to next fall. So this is it. This is summer in a nutshell. It's here, and it's going to be sticking around. We'll talk more about that coming up. Tim's going to join me. We'll talk about some models going away. We'll talk about limited rain chances and obviously the drought still.
Weather Impact Live with Brad Panovich is sponsored by Moisture Lock, crawl space, basement, and foundation repair experts serving the Carolinas since 1988.
Tired of all this rain? Does your yard look like a swamp after it rains? Hi, I'm Greg Doggett with Moisture Lock, Charlotte's premier waterproofing and foundation repair company. The longer water sits, the softer soil will become. This can cause foundation issues. If you're having drainage issues, contact Moisture Lock. We'll get the water away from your home and out of your yard.
Moisture Lock, stabilize, enhance, protect.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Brad Panovich here. Tim Buckley joins me, live weather impact. Tim, Chamber of Commerce Day, I like to call these. This was absolutely gorgeous. Drought aside, this is the kind of weather like I love, and I wish we had in April when it's supposed to happen, but I'll take it now because summer's almost here, and you got to take these days while you can.
It's true. It's comfy. It was, crisp in the morning with the 40s and the 50s.
Yeah.
And now still cool and comfy for the afternoon. It's hard to break a sweat on a day like today, unless you're really just sitting in the sunshine, which is strong, of course. But really a nice day. You can still enjoy it, but be smart out there. We still have the drought. I saw you guys had a fire, of course. Was it Caldwell County that had a little bit of one?
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in just a sec because I will show you. We still have it burning. We can see it from our camera. But to your point, Tim, we're running out of time for you to have your windows open, right? Window season is quickly escaping us. And so I want people to know that this is probably the last week for some folks that will have their windows open consistently and get some fresh air in the house for two reasons. One, it's going to get hot and humid and probably AC season kicks in and we're stuck there. But also, we're kind of over the hump of the pollen season. I'm going to show you our pollen forecast. There's still pollen out there. Don't get me wrong. If you're an allergy sufferer, you're going to tell me, yeah, there's still pollen. But it's like a bad day now is like in the medium range. We're not seeing the high and very high levels. So that's another reason you can open your windows, get some fresh air in the house because you're not going to get all the crazy pollen in the house. So I've been encouraging our viewers and listeners and people out there, hey, open your windows this week. Get some fresh air in your house because you might be shutting them and leaving them there till October at this rate with the heat starting to build back.
Yeah, just make sure you know what you're getting in for, because if you leave them open all night, depending on where you are and depending on what your comfort level is, it could be a little cool for your liking.
We
still have some more of those 40s. Tomorrow morning's kind of cold. Friday morning should be kind of cold. We kind of have a one-day cool down, Brad, don't we? Tomorrow warms up. But behind it, I'm only forecasting some 60s by Thursday with a little bit of a kind of an upper level low around the back side of that front there on Thursday.
Yeah, we kind of have this dry front. It won't be 100% dry, but as we mentioned yesterday, northwest movement and dry air over us. Probably hard-pressed to get storms tomorrow. But, yeah, kind of a reinforcing shot of cool air as we go into Thursday and Friday. And I think that's why this week is so great. I mean, it's going to be pretty consistent. Mild afternoons, cool mornings, really great. And then the weekend, we see some changes start to develop. Real quickly, Tim, I do want to talk about that fire because not that we have a high fire danger today, but our High Brighton Mountain camera did show this. Pretty interesting. This is a gorgeous camera, by the way. This is a resort cam looking up. So you're looking from Lenore west, northwest into the mountains, and you see the smoke there. What's interesting about that, Tim, is that's actually a wildfire at the landfill there in Lenore. It's called the landfill fire, and if we zoom in on fire or watch duty, you can actually see it's at the landfill. It's about 15 acres, but it's 75% contained. It's actually showing up on the satellite hot spot now, but you see the landfill at the bottom. And James and I were kind of theorizing that maybe if you've ever been to a landfill, obviously it's trash, if some kind of like lithium battery or something got thrown out that got crushed and maybe sparked a fire nearby and it got into the woods there. But it seems like they've got it. I guess there's a lot of equipment there because of the landfill. They probably got it under control. But if you're seeing that smoke up in Caldwell County, that's what it is.
That makes sense. Definitely not the first fire to happen at a landfill. Probably won't be the last. And I guess compared to other locations, if you had to have a fire somewhere, there are worse spots to have it. Right. There's probably a good amount of things that can be burned, but you also probably have a decent enough barrier already around it. That maybe can make the work a little bit better. But definitely some smoke in the air that might be affecting the local air quality a little, I guess. But not the worst. Not like those ones we saw in Myrtle Beach a little while ago. Overall, our fires have been a lot better the last couple of weeks than they were a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, we have really dry air, Tim, but the winds haven't been crazy, and we've had these cool mornings actually create a little bit of dampness. I know you guys had some dense fog this morning. We had a little bit, but you guys actually had a dense fog advisory, and that was kind of interesting. I kind of saw that little pattern kind of sneak up last night as well and was hinting at it, but it really was like our northern counties and then up into your area. That was pretty thick fog this morning.
It was thick fog, and we were kind of on top of it last night. We actually pulled the trigger on an impact alert just for a few hours for this morning. I don't think we've ever done that for fog before, but you can see how long it lingered. This was 7, there's 8, and it really took until about 9 o'clock or so for it to clear. Made for some pretty scenes, though. We got this photo. This is from Pilot Mountain. So if you look on the right, that's the knob, as they call it, of Pilot Mountain there. And then in the distance, what you're looking at, you have Saratown Mountain here in the foreground. And then you have Hanging Rock over here, and then Moore's Wall right there. So those are kind of our mountains, as we call them, here in the Piedmont and in the Triad. They're apart from the big mountains, but there was fog in the foreground. So it made for kind of a cool scene out there at sunrise earlier today.
Yeah, I love those little strip of mountains there, because when I come back from Ohio, I go back to Ohio quite a bit to see family. Right when you come off of that like flat top area up there in Virginia and across the border, those are like the first mountains you see off to the left as you're coming down on 77, and you know you're back in North Carolina when you see those off to the left, because you're already up in the mountains. So yeah, beautiful views this morning. Yeah, you guys definitely had a lot more fog than we had. It was really not that thick. It didn't last very long. But yeah, that little bit of moisture does help out in the morning. Speaking of moisture, Tim, obviously the drought is still an ongoing issue. We're watching this front try to approach tomorrow night. I like to call it a dry front because somebody will get rain, but let's be honest, more people than not are probably going to miss out. But I'm also not going to be shocked if like 1 or 2 tiny little thunderstorms get going. And it could be one of those situations, Tim, where it's completely clear everywhere, but then we have this one little cumulonimbus cloud go up, which will be super visible from miles away. And they should be really picturesque if they do develop at all tomorrow evening.
I think so, too. And part of the reason for that is that you don't really have a big dew point surge. We're not getting super humid ahead of it. There's not a ton of moisture to work with, which is bad because you're not going to get a lot of rain. But on the flip side, those cloud bases should be pretty high, and that can typically make for some nice-looking clouds. I would guess the best chance for a thunderstorm would kind of be where your model has it here, would right along the Virginia state line, maybe into Virginia. They actually have a low-level strong or severe risk up in West Virginia and places like that. But if you're in the Triad, if you're in Charlotte, you can hope and pray for a shower, and you might get it, maybe even a clap of thunder.
Yeah.
But it's just not that good of a chance.
Yeah, I think even if you're under one of those, it's probably going to be super short-lived and be like, oh, it's here and then it's gone. I would say, with that low risk, probably a little bit of a wind risk with the cold air loft, and probably some small hail would be the two things. As you were showing that upper low to the north, that's a really cold pocket. And I don't know if you looked a little bit further north. I was just looking at our future cast a little bit wider, Tim. And when this front comes through West Virginia, I noticed a little bit of pink and white showing up in Pocahontas County, which is up where Snowshoe, West Virginia is. And with that upper low, I'm going to stop right there. You can see up in West Virginia. Look at those mountaintops up there. Not unheard of with an upper low this time of year, but behind the front Thursday morning, it does look like there might be some snow up there in parts of West Virginia, which tells you how deep that cold air is aloft.
Goodness, that's something else, isn't it? Yeah. Hey, people talk about it. We're even after Mother's Day now, so this is well into May. But hey, I saw there's still frost freeze advisories up in Maine and New England, all these things, but snow gets the emotions going a lot more than some frost does.
Yeah, that's for sure. Let's talk about the weekend heat wave, because the two things that strike me, one, I think this is a pretty big ridge over the southeast that starts to develop. We mentioned it yesterday. But I think unlike our heat that we've had most of the spring, which we've had a ton of, this does start to look a little bit more humid, especially next week, Tim, as the heat builds in. I think we're going to see a stretch of upper 80s, low 90s down our way, probably mid 80s up your way. I'm thinking you're probably in that boat. But the dew points are what I start to creep up, and the overnight lows in the low and mid 60s down here. That's always a good sign. If you don't even look at a dew point forecast, look at the overnight lows. When it doesn't cool off at night, you usually know it's a little stickier out.
Sticky, you'll feel it. We haven't really had the humidity with the heat combined together just yet so far this year, as you said, Brad. And so I think this will be a comfort factor.
Yes.
You're really going to need the air conditioning.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if you do get the humidity high enough, we might be able to pop some thunderstorms. You can't bank on that happening. You can't hope that it'll hit you, but somebody might get some out of it. But I do think this is just going to really jumpstart and make things feel like summer. To the crowd that's been complaining that their pools can't warm up, the best thing you want are warm overnights. Those low temperatures to kind of moderate. This is the weather pattern that you would want to see, even if the rest of us are miserable and sweating out bullets.
Yeah, our pool opened this past weekend, which is super early, but our swim team had practice. My daughter actually had practice outside. She said the pool wasn't too bad. I was actually surprised because, as you mentioned, the cold overnights and then the rain last week, rainwater cools your pool off really, really quickly when you get rain. But you're right, the warm overnights, that really starts to warm the pools up. So yeah, this kind of kickstarts the summer season, not only weather-wise, but Memorial Day is always kind of the unofficial start of summer for most folks, especially in our part of the country. And would you know it, next weekend is Memorial Day weekend. It's an early Memorial Day this year, and right on cue it moves in. But I do agree with you. We ran Claire's Weather IQ today, Tim, on pop-up thunderstorm season, which is kind of what we're getting into, just heating of the day. You can't rely on that, but at least it's something. And for a few folks every day in that pattern, you're going to get lucky. But for most of us, you're probably going to say, I went around my house.
And we need all the help we can get. I'm starting to get a little concerned. You go another week without any rainfall. You're going to bake things up with temperatures in the 90s and some sunshine. This really looks like something that's going to take us farther into drought. If it lasts weeks and months as we kind of expect it to. And I'm sure we'll talk more going forward about El Nino and what that means. And we talked a little bit the other day. But there's no guarantee it means a wet summer for us. It could be the opposite. And so this is something that's going to linger for a long time. So just kind of buckle up here. Those brown lawns are probably going to keep on getting more and more brown over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I definitely want to dive into El Nino again because I got an email today. Someone sent me a Washington Post article talking about the 1877 Super El Nino that was deadly, and they were all concerned. And I was like, hey, I really wouldn't worry about El Nino right now. This drought is a much bigger deal for us. Hopefully El Nino develops, but you're right. That's a long way in the future. I agree. I think we're stuck in this, and with water restrictions going into effect this week in many locations, we're starting to see boat ramps shutting down. And with Memorial Day weekend coming up, that's a big boating weekend. You're going to see some of these lakes, especially the Catawba chain, where you're probably going to have tough getting your boat in the water because the water levels are so low, Tim. So that's another thing that people start to recognize when it comes around. Real quickly, Tim, James is just letting me know we have an accident on I-77. The reason we're mentioning this is kind of between our markets, so people traveling on I-80. It's I-85, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me fix that. I'm sorry.
So the Super says 70, but yeah, I knew. So this is up in Rowan County, Tim. Looks like a pretty significant accident. It looks like, is that the northbound lanes?
These are the northbound lanes completely closed.
Yeah, so completely closed. So for anybody who's watching us and they're trying to travel between our markets, they're probably running into a major jam up right now. You could see the road is completely shut down. They're getting people off the interstate. That's pretty serious. That's likely, I don't want to speculate, but usually there's significant injuries when there's a shutdown like this or some kind of spill or something going on.
I can confirm our assignment desk is checking with North Carolina State Highway Patrol on that very question.
Yeah, because when they shut down the interstate, that usually means, it says vehicle fire as Tim pops it up there. So that could mean a spill of something that they have to clean up. But that's a major headache. I've driven to that area a couple times. The traffic's always pretty nasty through there anyways, but this will definitely make things kind of tough to get between Greensboro and Charlotte right now.
Yeah, not great. That used to be the big bottleneck where you would go from 4 lanes, then down to 2 for a while, and then you'd get them back closer to Lexington. Now it's all 4, but right now it's 0. So that is going to be a big issue, of course, for the rest of the evening, and doesn't look like they're anywhere close to opening up. So kind of see how that goes down by Rowan County. Big mess.
Yeah, that's
brutal.
brutal.
I've seen a couple vehicles using on-ramps as off-ramps.
Oh.
To try to get off. I just saw one in the distance kind of peel off, and I think in that still image too, you saw them trying to get vehicles off the roadway.
Oh man, that's bad news. Yeah, so just a heads up for people, that's only going to get worse. People will be surprised, Tim. There's a lot of commuters between our two markets. We used to have an employee here that lived up near Winston-Salem and drove to Charlotte every day, Monday through Friday. So that's a lot of cross traffic between the Triad and the Charlotte area. There is definitely more people than you think that go between those two areas.
Our newest meteorologist is one of them, at least for right now. So
yeah,
I'll let him know about this.
Normally it's not that bad of a drive, but a day like today is when you're like, what am I doing?
I know. Goodness.
I remember going to the Speedway one time and getting on 85 after the race was over, and that was, like you said, that bottleneck used to be there. That was horrible because all the Coke 600, you get 100,000 people trying to go back north there. It was brutal. So yeah, that's definitely bad traffic issues there. Tim, real quickly, we've got like a couple minutes here before we go. We wanted to mention real quickly, our fires have subsided a little bit, but yesterday we were watching fires in Arizona, but there was a big fire that broke out in South Florida down near Miami. I saw some of the coverage. Wow. And it was pretty significant. And they're getting rain down in Florida today. But boy, man, we think we've had it rough. Florida has just had a brutal stretch of drought weather. And, they're getting into lightning season. I remember we were talking to the guy from Watch Duty, and he was like really concerned about that because, in Florida, with the drought going on, once the thunderstorms pop up, you think, oh, that's good for rain. But it's also an ignition source for a lot of fires.
That's a good point. And, it's really... I don't live in Florida. I don't have the best memory of anybody, but I can't remember the last time they had a really bad fire season down there. But it does happen, and you can get really bad fires in Florida, and it can last a long time, too, before things get better. So, like you said, Brad, they've been an exceptional drought in part of the state for longer than we have. It's been more significant than our drought has, longer lasting, too. And so we hope that's not looking into the future for us, and only time will tell, but we do look south to see kind of what they've been going through and just kind of shake our head.
Yeah, it's been tough down there. And you think about Florida, they have a wet and a dry season, and the wet season is great, but the problem is all that underbrush and growth comes, and then you dry that out. It just gives you so much fuel for those fires. So it's like a blessing and a curse when you have a wet and a dry season. You're growing fuels for these fires. And so if you've been to Florida, it's very lush when it's green, but when it dries out, that's all a tinderbox. So we'll keep an eye on that, Tim. We'll have to dive into El Nino again a little bit more later this week, but drought monitor coming up later this week, which is going to continue to be top of mind, which we'll talk about probably over the next couple of days. Stick around. We have more news coming up. We'll see you back here tomorrow.